More than 50% of women murdered in South Africa are killed by their intimate partner. It's a horrific statistic. And the latest story, musician Babes Wodumo, before you show you those visuals, a warning that the content is graphic. And she propped up her camera in her bedroom just as her partner, Vampincha, started beating her. Babes Wodumo has more than 1.5 million followers on Instagram, many of whom watched in horror as the assault happened live. Now, the shock and the fury quickly hit social media. These are tweets from prominent men in South Africa. Men who beat women are revolting. I have no respect for such people. The law must deal with them. What's happened to Babes Wodumo is disgusting, to say the least. I pray justice will take its course. Coming to this Bongekile, silly excuse for calling yourself a man. Man where? Who uses his mouth and hands so vile? Ladies, please get abusive situations. Get rid of abusive situations, please. From the Blag there. Tumi Muraki says Babes Wodumo took the first step, and I pray she keeps taking these steps further and further away from that man. I hope she doesn't lose her nerve. Now, earlier this afternoon, Babes Wodumo's father spoke out.
She's very much close to me. She always tells me that, Daddy, she called me Babazi. Babazi, Mandla is abusing me. Wherever, if Mandla sees any young boy around me, or even when I'm attending some gigs around South Africa, Mandla is going to fight. Is going to hit me in front of my dancers and my subordinates. So she lost control even to her dancers and other people at the community at large by hitting my daughter in front of everybody. I'm very much hurt.
Some members of the ANC Women's League's Young Women's Desk accompanied Babes Wodumo to the police station where she has laid a charge of abuse. Pavilion Longway was there. She joins us now on the line. Pavilion Longway, good to have you with us. How is she?
Thank you very much, Steve. The reaction that we have as the Young Women's Desk is real utter disgust. And the sad part is that every day, even as we speak now, there must be a woman somewhere who's being abused. And we don't find our voices because, you know, the kind of reaction that we get is just too much. So we thought, look, besides the statements that have been issued and all those things, let us go to the police station. We first met the father, and then we proceeded to the police station in Westville because there were also some of the, things that the father was saying were happening. For instance, that in the recent past, there's been reporting of some of these incidents, and the police station was not responsive. So we said, let's just go with them to So obviously she was then, taken by the provincial commissioners, people that had been sent to come and take over the case, because the case is no longer with the police station anymore. It's handled at a provincial level. But I think from where we are sitting, I think you share the same sentiment. There's a lot of woman abuse, and the problem is that when you go out in public, even if, you see, when one will think, because Babes is a public figure, if she goes out and say, I am abused and I need help.
Okay, I just need to jump in here quickly. I mean, how is she doing? What sort of state is she in mentally and physically?
She's not doing fine. Her family is not doing fine. No one can do fine after you've been beaten so much. After you have fears, you don't know how this is going to unfold. You don't know whether you're really going to get help this time around. She's not doing fine. She's not herself. It's ugly. It's bad. And from where I am seated, our discussion should not be discussing her feelings right now. It should be discussing how do we capture this perpetrator.
Okay, and let's leave it there, Bavula. Shlonga, thank you very much, because we're going to be talking about this a lot more. We wonder if men generally talk about abusers. I mean, do they take up responsibility in the community? How is the abuse of women still happening so frequently in South Africa? Babes Wodumo's father has confirmed that she's laid a charge. We've also had that confirmation there, double confirmation, in the state that she's in. And police are asking the suspect to hand himself in. My guest tonight, our Commissioner Funde Nzimande from the Commission for Gender Equality. Also the author of No Excuse for Abuse is Craig Wilkinson. And via Skype is the author of Beaten But Not Broken, Vanessa Govern. Good to have you all with us on this horrific story. Funde Nzimande, I mean, what is your response to what is going on? I mean, horrific that we've seen that sort of thing, but do you think that video could make a difference?
Thank you very much, Jane. Greetings to all the viewers. Of course, we are hoping that because the conversation is continuing on GBV, we are hoping that this opportunity will once again give us a chance to talk about it. And I think it's a good time for men and women to be talking about GBV, because there are certain things that we all need to understand about GBV. We want to know what is the cause of GBV. We want to know what sets people off. And we want to know...
We're talking about gender-based violence.
Gender-based violence. And we want to know what supports people need in order to get out of a cycle of gender-based violence.
Craig Wilkinson, I mean, I know that you believe there's no excuse. I mean, you see something like that, it's so revolting.
It's very hard. It's hard to watch, isn't it? Very hard to watch.
And men feel compelled to go ahead with this, don't they? That they feel that it's okay in these sort of...
Well, I guess for way too many do think it's okay. And I think, you know, the reason I got very involved in this is I come from a background of writing books about fatherhood. Father is my passion. But I think what's happening is we need to understand why men are doing this. There's never, ever an excuse. I think the starting point is that no matter what a woman does or doesn't do, no matter what she wears or doesn't wear, no matter how angry you are, how drunk you are, there's never, ever, ever an excuse.
Happened to him.
It's got nothing to do with anything. You know, men are given strength, and with strength comes a responsibility, and the responsibility is to use it well. You know, you get behind the wheel of a vehicle, the vehicle has the potential to kill people, doesn't it? But you drive it well, you put the brakes on when you need to, and you control it well, and that's what masculinity is all about, controlling it. And so we need to understand, you know, I think in dealing with this crisis, historically, what we've done is we've created awareness, which is great. You know, we've had these hashtags, men are trash, there's all sorts of things, and we've also done a lot to help the victims of abuse. But where we've been missing is, why is this happening, and what do we need to do to stop it? And I think that's where we need to climb in and really get stuck into the issue.
Vanessa Govern, I mean, you're a victim of abuse. I should imagine it must have been very hard watching the video. I mean, what went through your mind, and talk us through what you have learned from the man's role here, other than being the abuser.
I am now a survivor. I've been a survivor for close on to 13 years. It was not easy watching that video. I woke up this morning completely oblivious to the existence of this video until I was alerted to it by colleagues, former colleagues at ENCA. I then had to go online and do a Google search and find the video. You can hear the crack of those slaps. It is painful, it is traumatic, it is triggering for those of us who have been there, those of us who have walked away, those of us who are still here and who are comfortable and able to speak our truth and tell our story. It was not easy. Even now, as I speak to you, I have a massive headache. It's hard to explain the impact of this. You know, I suppose in a way it's taken me back to where I was. And I can only begin to imagine what this young woman is going through, wherever she is right now. It is never easy. You know, you have people standing on the sidelines, standing on the outside, saying, get out, leave. Why do you stay? Why do you go back? Well, because you do. It's your fault. You're asking for it. Nobody ever stops to question the perpetrators. Why are you doing this? Don't ask me why I stay. Ask him why he's doing this. And that's been the fundamental problem with this problem, is that we keep focusing on the victims, but we are letting the perpetrators kind of, you know, slip off into the background. No, we need to give them attention. Why are they doing this? We need to create a culture, a community, and a country where these men are made to feel very uncomfortable, you know, for want of a better word, impose sanctions on them as friends, as brothers, as work colleagues, as relatives. we need to impose sanctions on them that say to them, we know what you're doing, or we suspect that you're doing this. And they need to be made to feel unwelcome, and they need to feel our disgust and our contempt. And I think, it's all very well to get outraged on social media. And it's wonderful to see the comments and the sentiment that's being aired on social media by influential men, by ordinary citizens, by ordinary men as well. But here's the thing. It's got to filter down to our homes and to our workplaces. Right now, in that environment, in that newsroom, in that corporate culture, in that small business, we all know that there are men who are guilty of this. We all suspect somebody in our family of being guilty of this.
Okay.
But what do? We welcome...
Let me jump in here, because you raise so many relevant points. I mean, firstly, you say a lot has been spoken. A lot of people talk about this all the time, but clearly that is not enough. It should be about naming and shaming. It should be about taking action. It should be filtering through into every single, whether it's the newsroom or the office today. How do we make that happen? How do we make the men, the perpetrators, aware that what they're doing is wrong?
I must say that we've been talking about it for a long time, but I mean, in the South African context, we seem to be a very violent society. I mean, you look at the issue of GBV, you look at the issue of crime, you look at how we respond to challenges. You can see that we're a very violent society.
But it's not enough, is it? The message is not getting through.
Yes, and I think Craig probably will talk more about it, because I believe that if there are any underlying aspects that need to be dealt with, we need to understand what those underlying... I mean, I understand that no one has an excuse to abuse anyone.
No.
But at the same time, we have a situation where in our country, if we look at the statistics, half the women who are murdered in our country are murdered by intimate partners. And I would say, if you compare us to other countries globally, we've got the highest femicide rate of 12.1 out of every 100,000 people who are killed. So it shows that there's a very serious problem with that we have to deal with in our country.
And Craig, clearly, again, not enough has been done. If we have the highest rate in the world, the question raised there by Vanessa Govern is, I mean, why is this happening?
Right.
Why are they doing this?
Well, I think there are four main reasons, and two of them are very compelling. First is men are growing up wounded. A young boy grows up in a home, and we've also got one of the highest fatherlessness rates in the world, and there's a direct link to that. A boy grows up and he looks to his dad, or an older man, to teach him how to be a man. In the absence of that, there's no model. So what does he look to? He looks to the gangsters, and he looks to media, and he looks at, he finds out, but he grows up wounded and unvalidated. Now, it's very important to say that this doesn't make any excuse. These are reasons. So you fix a problem not by excusing it, by absolutely, and I 100% agree with Vanessa and with everyone, that men should be held account for what they do, 100%. We should name and shame, we should do all the things. But law in itself is not going to solve the problem. All it'll do is it'll put a lid on it, but the pressure cooker is still going to boil. So we need to transform our men and restore to society fathers, male role models, and men that are just teaching younger men how to be men. So if you take the wounded masculinity, that's the one major big cause, and that's a whole topic on its own. And the second major cause is false concept of what it means to be a man. I think if you look at media and when the messages around masculinity, there are four big lies, aren't there? Sex, power, money, and big boys don't cry. I mean, these are the big lies. So boys grew up thinking that the more woman I have, the more of a man I am. The more power I have, the more money I have, that makes me a man. And it's a complete lie. It's a complete misconception. Masculinity is given to us to serve. Strength is given, power is given, money is given. Political power is there to serve the constituents. Power in a company is there to serve the stakeholders. Strength in a man is given to serve those that he loves. And I think if we move away from the understanding of false masculinity to true masculinity, which is, I'm here to serve. Whatever strength I have, it's here to love, serve, protect, provide, and honor. We'll be creating a culture where this kind of thing doesn't happen. So we've got to deal with the woundedness, and we've got to deal with the misconceptions. And the fourth thing I mentioned there is that big boys don't cry, is that men don't talk. so many men, the rate of suicide is also 5 times higher amongst men than it is amongst women. And one of the reasons is men don't speak. We bottle things up. You can have a friendship group of guys who have a great time watching soccer and having a beer together, and they think they've got a great friendship group, but they're not actually talking to each other. So what's happening is this bottling, this pressure cooker's bottling, and it comes out in either violence to others or violence to self, or in all kinds of other addictions. So masculinity is in crisis. But we need to go back to the...
And Vanessa, I mean, we did a poll here on ENCA, and 38% of women believe that men will reform. 2.5% of women believe men are justified in beating women. You were saying how hard it is to walk away. I mean, what sort of conversation did you hear from the man, sort of seeing that that's okay?
Yeah, it's a conversation I had with my husband earlier today. What should men be doing? And stopping short of saying, let's form a mob and go beat these guys up. And we know violence is the big problem here. For me, it's very simple, and it starts at grassroots. We talk about government and police doing stuff, but it starts at the bottom. It starts in our homes. It starts with you. It starts in that company. It starts back at the SABC, where my abuse happened, in the corridors of this huge broadcaster. It starts in all other corporates and businesses, people taking action, community, people, ordinary citizens mobilizing and saying, we know what you're doing, and it needs to stop. If you make this man uncomfortable, if you make his life uncomfortable, if you make him know what he's doing is wrong and that you know or suspect, and this is the thing, abuse thrives in secrecy, okay? And that is what these guys get off on. They're being protected by their victims. We are obliged to protect them, because by protecting them, we're protecting ourselves. We don't want the world to know we're being beaten up by men who claim to love us, or by the man we think we love. Make them feel uncomfortable. Make them feel uncomfortable. Start ostracizing. And when you say name and shame, I do have a problem with that, right? Because it can be a bit reckless and irresponsible. But naming and shaming done in the context of whether it's in a family environment or whether it's in a work environment, let them know you know. Let them know it's wrong. Make them feel uncomfortable. Okay. That is the culture. That is where it starts.
Make them feel uncomfortable. Speak out. Vanessa Govern with those words. Craig Wilkinson and Funde Nzimande, thank you very much. International weather up next. And then the UN says Israel may be guilty of war crimes for shooting at least 200 Gaza protesters dead. Israel is fighting back.